Welcome, everyone, to Japa Jolt. Congratulations for being here for our first Japa Jolt session that's being live streamed. And anybody who's tuning in from Facebook, welcome. Glad to have you. Japa Jolt is a means for revitalizing one's japa during the week. It's meant for anyone who wants to increase their sadhana. And one of the ways to assuredly make advancement and improve one's sadhana is to show up. Because no matter how we feel or what the mind tells us we feel, when we come and get into association of devotees and we chant Hare Krishna, then we're sure to improve. So thank you everyone for coming, and be inventive at other times when the Japa Jolt's not here to find ways to show up for your japa. So we're going to start this morning with aligning ourselves with our purpose of chanting. We'll look at the Bhutta Shuddhi, and I'm going to read a short section from the Srimad Bhagavatam. We could say this together behind muted mics. I am by nature the eternal servant of Krishna, but by misfortune due to being inimical towards him since time immemorial, I've been wandering within the cycle of birth and death in the material world, being burnt by the threefold miseries. Now, as a result of some unimaginable good fortune, by the mercy of my spiritual master, I know that I am an infinitesimal living being completely apart from the gross and subtle body. Now, by the order of my spiritual master, I have obtained the good fortune of serving his lotus feet, as well as the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Sri Radha Madan Mohan, Sri Sri Radha Govinda, Sri Sri Radha Gopinath. And from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, a verse that Mahaprabhu has regularly recited, Naham Vipro Nacha Narapatir Napi Vaisho Nashudro Naham Varni Nacha Grihapatir No Vanasto Yatirva Kintu Prodyan Nikila Paramananda Purnamratabdir Gopi Bhartu Parakamalayur Das Anudasaha. I'm not a Brahmana, I'm not a Kshatriya, I'm not a Vaishya or a Shudra, nor am I a brahmacharya, a householder, a vanaprastha, or a sannyasi. I identify myself only as a servant of the servant of the servant of the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna, the maintainer of the gopis. He is like an ocean of nectar, and he is the cause of universal transcendental bliss. He is always existing with brilliance. And now I'm going to treat us to a short section from Srila Prabhupada's purport in the Srimad Bhagavatam from 2:235. Here Prabhupada writes, actually, the Lord is not perceivable by our present materialized senses, but when one is convinced of the presence of the Lord by a practical service attitude, there is a revelation by the Lord's mercy. And such a pure devotee of the Lord can perceive the Lord's presence always and everywhere. He can perceive that intelligence is the form direction of the Paramatma, plenary portion of the personality of Godhead. The presence of Paramatma in everyone's company is not very difficult to realize, even for the common man. The procedure is as follows. One can perceive one's self-identification and feel positively that he exists. He may not feel it very abruptly, but by using a little intelligence, he can feel that he is not the body. He can feel that the hand, the leg, the head, the hair, and the limbs are all his bodily parts and parcels. But as such, the hand, the leg, the head, etc., cannot be identified with his self. Therefore, just by using intelligence, he can distinguish and separate his self from other things that he sees. So there's a way that Prabhupada shows here the contemplative process of being aware of your intelligence. He says the form direction of supersoul. And also looking at your various appendages and noticing that you're the seer of them and therefore you're not them. and starting chanting with a sense that I'm not this body, and then I have a relationship with the super soul, and knowing that it's a very intimate process, repeating the name of the Supreme Personality of God. We're given a direct connection to the Lord. Nam Nam Akari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis. That he has all his same powers in his name that he himself has. In fact, he's identical. So take 30 seconds within your own purview, develop a determination for chanting this morning. Just make a sentence of declaration, a sankalpa, that this is why I'm chanting. It helps to focus the mind and get in line with your purpose. So I'll give us 30 seconds of silence so you can think and declare. Just like when you go to university, they ask you to declare what you're going to study. So before you chant, this is what I'm going to major in today. Let's try. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Just a quick check-in partway through. It's helpful to conceptualize your fingers on each bead and remember one mantra at a time. And the heavy lifting is to keep your mind on the mantra. So when you grab a bead, just remember you're chanting one mantra, and just for that time, just for that one bead, stay fully focused on the mantra. Then when you move to the next one, stay fully focused on the mantra on that one. Just try to go one at a time, and notice any time that your mind becomes unwieldy and starts thinking, oh yeah, I wonder how I look on camera. I wonder what I'm going to do the rest of the day. And then bring your mind back and be on the mantra, have your mind absorbed on it. One at a time. You can't do more than that. And if you can get one mantra with full concentration, then your period of chanting is a success. Let's go for it. So how'd y'all do? Self-evaluation. Thoughts, realizations, experiences. TRE. Thoughts, realizations, and experiences. Ram.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Recently I've been struggling a bit with motivation because of feeling a bit overwhelmed by a lot of different things like exams and then managing that with sadhana as well and various services. And I really liked the idea that you mentioned of just taking chanting as one beat at a time and just showing up for Krishna. I think that's something you've talked about a lot. And just showing up for Krishna one beat at a time makes it a lot more manageable and less overwhelming. And that helped me a lot. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ram. And just as a reminder, one of the directives that Jiva Goswami gives about meditating on the holy name is imagine you're going to the ocean with a kusha straw and you're going to drain the ocean one drop at a time. And if you think of one bead as one drop and you're there for the long term, long enough to drain an ocean, how many lifetimes would that be? And just feel one bead's enough, next bead's enough. Thanks, Ram. Excellent. Avanish.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I was thinking back to the beginning, before we started, you were mentioning the second verse of Shikshashtika. And I was just looking into the later parts of that verse and reflecting on that. Etadarshi tava kripa bhagavan mamapi durdaivam idisham yajani anuragha. That, oh my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. And I was just thinking, like, if we really knew that Krishna is putting all his transcendental energies into his holy names, or even the verse before that, that Cheto Darpana Marjanam, that we are able to cleanse our heart of so much dust that is accumulated for so many lifetimes. If we were truly able to realize that practically, how serious would our chanting be? That each bead, each mantra, we would be so focused in that. And unfortunately, right now I don't have that. But at the same time, I was thinking back to the Buddha Shuddhi at the beginning of, by some unimaginable good fortune, that I'm able to be surrounded by stalwarts and great devotees in the movement, like yourself, Vaiśeṣika Maharaj, Japa Maharaj, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, able to see these devotees that have actually realized this practically, and seeing that's able to, while I don't have the realization right now, seeing those people that have that realization, it empowers me to focus more and become more serious in my chanting.
Thank you, Avanish. Yeah, there's so much there. And if we can just penetrate even a tiny bit, there's an ocean waiting to gush in. Last night, we were reading the story of Sudama Brahman. And one of the extraordinary aspects of that story is how grateful Krishna is, because he knew that Sudama, his friend, had brought him some gift, but it was embarrassed to offer it. And Krishna insisted, and he actually took it by force. And the story goes on to explain how Krishna was so indebted to him for that gift that he hesitatingly finally gave to Krishna, or Krishna took by force, even just the thought that he would bring something. And Sudama's humility and not wanting to offer it because he thought it was unworthy. Krishna became so enamored of that thoughtfulness of Sudama that he gave himself, says Sridhar Swami, one of our acharyas. And that's one of the ways that Sudama was finally transformed to the highest level of devotional services, remembering how grateful Krishna was to him for the gift he gave. So you can remember, even if you feel that whatever you're offering in the way of your chanting is subpar, insignificant, Krishna appreciates it. As we were talking before we started live streaming, is just showing up is a big deal. There's lots of other things you could do. And so what if you show up and you struggle with your chanting? At least you're trying. And you can be thinking, I don't have much to offer because I'm so lowly. But still, Krishna is so grateful that he'll accept it. And he becomes controlled by the love of his devotees, who even hesitatingly offer something because they think it's not worthy. So we can be encouraged by the fact that this is not something impersonal. We're dealing with a real person who's full of gratitude and is already reciprocating with us and wants to reciprocate more. Just opening our hearts to all that he has to offer is really the process of bhakti. One more. I'll count down and then I'm going to start calling on people. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, Madhuri Radhe, how was the chanting today?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. I found myself focusing for a little bit and then getting distracted by other thoughts and things. But what helped me come back every time was remembering the prayers that we said in the beginning, and that reminding myself that I'm not this body, and I'm not any of my involvements in school or any of my exams that are waiting for me or any of the other things that I'm dealing with right now. That isn't who I am. So why am I worrying about that right now when I should be focusing on Krishna, who is my only real source and myself? So that was really helpful.
Thanks for articulating. So important also because it's a practice, and you have to practice bringing your attention back to the holy name. There's many duties for us to do. There's many things to hear, but this is the most important thing. And training the mind to sit and just chant and just listen. Obviously, it's going to run away, but when we deliberately practice bringing it back to the holy name, doing everything we can to be focused, by learning about the holy name, as Avanish gave us those verses to remember what we're actually doing and so forth. Then gradually, we come into this very coveted position of being able to be with Krishna because of our awareness that he's fully present in his holy name. I congratulate everyone who joined this morning. I know you've got exams and lots of things to do, but you came here, you sat, you chanted, you voted with your feet. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Panchatattva, Shri Harinam Prabhu, Shri Haridas Thakur, if you so desire, please give us spiritual strength so that we can show up for Krishna every day, especially through the chanting of this all-important Japa. And may we always remain humble in the service of all living entities by distributing the holy name as much as possible. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone who agrees with this prayer in whole or in part, please unmute and say Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Gaur Premanande Haribo. KTTVG. Hare Krishna.